Hello, everyone. Welcome to my live stream. I'm coming to you live from San Francisco. Thanks for joining me. What I'm going to do in this live stream is I'm working on a small video game using the platform Scratch. And you can just watch me play the game, work on the game, or you can follow along and make the game with me. You can remix the game that I'm making. This is a game that I've been working on over the past week or two. I've been streaming different parts of it as I've been working on it. Let me show you what it's all about. So this is all using the Scratch platform, which is a web-based drag and drop programming language. Scratch is great for beginners, young people in particular who are learning how to program. It's a lot of fun. This is the actual insides of the game. Let me get out of here and get into Scratch itself. So let me just go to my stuff. I'll show you what, we'll go back into this area in a bit when we actually start working on the game and building it. But if you go to scratch.mit.edu, you'll land on a page like this, and you can play the projects that people create. It's not just games, it can be anything that people create with code. And but it's easy enough to get started. You go to scratch.mit.edu and you click create. If you create an account, you can save the stuff that you make online, and you can also remix with what other people create. So there's a URL at the bottom here, DucksCakes, bit.ly/DucksCakes. If you go there, it'll take you to the page for my game. The game's called DucksCakes. If you want, you can play it. And if you have a Scratch account, which is free to create, you can go in and remix it and work on it on your own. So when you go to that URL, you'll land on a page that looks something like this. It gives you instructions and description and some notes. But you hit the green flag to play the game. And how it works is that you click on a present, and you got to pick one of them. You can only get one present. And what you're hoping for is to get the cake and not the duck. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to choose the middle one. Oh, got the duck. And this one was the cake. Okay. So if you want to play again, you hit the green flag. I'm going to say it's maybe this one. Let's try it. This one. Duck again. Cake in the middle. So that's how the game works. You can see there's a scoreboard up here, which tells you how many cakes you've got and how many ducks you've got. There's a reset score button as well, set those back to 0. That was what I worked on last time on the stream. The notes and credits over here on the right, on the bottom right, what you'll see is that I've been wanting to re-implement the Rewrap button so that after you've played, you don't have to hit the green flag. A big button will appear and it'll let you rewrap the GIFs pretty quickly. And then I thought maybe it would be neat that if you got 3 cakes in a row, some extra celebration could come up. So I thought that would be a lot of fun. So let's when you're at a Scratch project, and if you're signed in and you want to check it out and you want to remix it, there would be a remix button. I'm going to go click on the See Inside button, and I'm going to open up the code. This is kind of where we got started there. Those of you who are familiar with Scratch will know this stuff really well, but I'm going to go over it really quickly. Essentially, this is the stage. This is where all the stuff in Scratch happens over here. This is the actual game that you're creating on the right side. Down here, this zone right here, these are the sprites. Sprites are like graphical objects that are on the stage. These are things that you can move around. These are things that you can click on and move, and these are maybe the characters in the game or different game elements that change. There's all kinds of sprites you can add. In the center here, this is where you're going to write your code or build your code and put it all together. And over here is all the different bits of code, all the different code blocks in the palette over here that you can choose from. And so there's a lot you can do with it. So I'll show you just a little bit of what's going on in my game here. I've got 3, let me just hit the green flag, got the 3 GIFs. And then, so the GIFs are up here on the stage. Those are represented by these 3 sprites down here as well, and each one has its own code. So if I click on the middle one, you'll see that these blocks change here. This is just different code for this gift versus different code for this gift. Okay, so I'm going to go to the first gift, and I want to show you one interesting bit in the first gift here. There's this action here: when green flag is clicked, set my random to a random value between 1 and 3. that's the whole game there, is picking a random value so that we know which gift out of the 3 is going to be the cake and the other 2 will be the ducks, okay? Now, this my random thing, this is a variable. A variable is just a spot in memory where you store some bit of data. It could be a number, it could be a letter, it could be a whole word, it could be a ton of words, it could be anything, basically. Any bit of data can be stored as a variable, basically. So we've got this bit of data called myRandom, and we're going to put in at the beginning of the game the numbers 1 to 3. And it's going to be random. It's like flipping a coin, if there was such thing as a 3-sided coin, okay? So what I had said I wanted to implement, there are a couple things I wanted to implement today on the stream. One of them is essentially I want to make a big button that rewraps all the gifts and starts the game over again so that you don't have to go all the way up to the green flag. I thought it didn't quite make sense to go to the green flag to start the game over. I feel like most games that are made in Scratch, you'll hit the green flag to start the game from the very, very beginning. And then any kind of play over and over again, or resetting or going to a new level, it's usually not done by the green flag. I mean, it can be, but I just feel like maybe the green flag is really the beginning of the game. And any kind of reset, other reset should be its own button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new button. Just like I made this reset score button up here, I used a sprite for that. I'm going to add a new sprite. Sprites are graphical objects. There's a ton of them in the sprite library in Scratch that you can search and scroll through and browse and filter. You can also draw your own sprite, or you can upload a sprite if you have a graphic file. But there's a sprite in here I know I want to use, the button sprite. So I'm just going to search for button. I'm going to go for this button here because that'll match the style of the other button. And it dropped it right on the stage. And you'll notice that there's no code in it yet. We haven't written any code. So it's a little small. So let me start with making the size a little bigger. I'll make it 150 in size. There we go. And there's no text on it. So why don't we change the text? To change the sort of visual aspects of the sprite, one of the ways you can do that is by editing its costumes, the different looks it has. This particular button has 2 costumes, a blue version and a gray version. Why don't we stick with the blue version, because that's what we use for the reset score button. I'm going to take this text tool here, and this is just like any other drawing tool you might see online. I'm going to use this. I'm going to drag. I'm just going to actually, how do I do this? Let's see. Just say, what was it? Rewrap is what we wanted to do. Rewrap, just going to type rewrap like that. I'm going to drag, use the arrow key. I'm a little rusty on this. I was right there. Okay. And I think we could just change the color, right? Yeah, let's make it just regular white. There we go. Okay, so we've got a big rewrap button right in the middle here. It's on the stage, it's viewable. We can show and hide that. We don't want that to appear in all cases. So we're gonna work on making it show and making it hide at different points of the game. So let's go take a look here. I think that looks good. Rewrap, should it be bigger? No, I'll keep it like that. Okay, so the code. There's no code in here right now. Let's actually just take a look at the code that is behind a gift so that we can see where we want what to happen and everything. So rewrap is visible. I think when the green flag is clicked, this actually sets up the game for the first time. We want to actually use the green flag to hide the gift. So what we would do, actually, yeah, let me jump back over here to rewrap. This is the code for the rewrap thing. Sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm not sure what I want to do first. That's the thing. When green flag clicked, so that's when the game starts. When green flag clicks, let me make this a little bigger. So that's this is execute when the green flag is clicked. Execute anything that gets connected to this. And what we want is to change the look of this. And the look I think we want to change to is hide. So hide that button when the green flag is clicked. Okay. Now, after the game, after someone chooses a gift, or when someone clicks on a gift, the executed code is right here. This is what happens when someone clicks on a gift. And this is what happens in particular when someone clicks on the first gift, because that's what I've chosen down over here. So what it does is there's some status checking just so we can see whether the gifts are wrapped or unwrapped. And if the gifts are wrapped, we know we can unwrap the gift and give points and play music and play the sound that happens in those cases. What also happens is a message goes out to all gifts saying a gift got unwrapped, do your thing, in which cases when one gift gets unwrapped, after that, all the gifts after a second or after 2 seconds, all the other gifts should get unwrapped as well, okay? So you'll see also this gift has, so it sends out this broadcast message, message 1. So then each of the gifts has also actions associated when that message 1 is received and actions to take. And that's, depending on what number gets drawn. So on the first gift, if the random number that gets pulled in the beginning is 1, it switches costume to cake A. Otherwise, it switches it to the duck. And so you'll see if I go into these other ones, it's 2. If the random number was 2, then we know it's the cake. Otherwise, it's the duck. And over here, 3. If the number is 3, then it's the cake. Otherwise, it's the duck. Okay? So I'm thinking we know that the case is, I'm just trying to think of like the best way to do this. So I think that we should play off of this broadcast message because that's when the game kind of ends. So what I'm thinking we do is we have the button listen for that broadcast message and then wait 3 seconds before it. So when I receive the message 1, yes, wait 3 seconds. Now I'm saying 3 seconds because I know the other one that it shows the other gifts, what's inside the other gifts after 2 seconds. And so we want to show those gifts and then wait a second and then reveal the button. When I receive message 1, which is when one of the gifts gets unwrapped, wait 3 seconds and then let's change our look to show. So show the button. It's down here, show. Why don't we try that out? I'm going to hit the green flag. The rewrap button goes away. That's what did that right there. Let's open a gift. Got a duck. It waits 2 seconds, shows the other gifts, and then wait 3 seconds and show rewrap. Now, what I'm realizing is that I'm going to move that up a little bit so it looks a little better. I'm realizing I think that the wait to actually, yeah, we only need to wait 1 second because it's going to wait 2 seconds, show the other gifts, and wait 1 second to show the rewrap button. So I'm going to change this to 1 second. That'll make it 1 second after the other gifts are revealed. Let's just double check that. Hit the green flag. We're going to hit the middle gift this time. See? Got a cake finally. Reveal what's in the other gifts, and then the rewrap button appears. Okay. So now we have the button appearing and disappearing. We hit the green flag, the button disappears. We pick a gift, it shakes, it opens. Oh, I got 2 cakes in a row. And then the rewrap button appears. Okay. Now, but the rewrap button doesn't do anything yet. So I think the next step is to implement something so that when we click the rewrap button, it does something. So what we do is we go to the events code, and then we say when this sprite is clicked. Okay. Now, when the sprite is clicked, what I think we ought to do is let's take a look at what happens when the green flag is clicked, because when the green flag is clicked, that is setting up a lot of the game. So we want to think about maybe that button, taking some of that code. So I'm going to go to the first gift, and I know if I scroll up, it says when green flag is clicked, and this is for the first gift. It's going to pick a random number. It's going to switch the costume of itself to the the wrapped gift, and then it's going to set this status to wrapped. I think those are good things to do. So why don't I take this? What I can do is just drag that into this down here. When it wiggles, you can let go and it brings it back. We can just do that, put it back there. And then we've got that code to use here. Now, I'll tell you though, when you say switch costume, it's going to assume it's the costume of the sprite we're talking about. So that buttons, it doesn't have a sprite called gift B. So we're just going to delete that. We're not going to use that. So when the sprite is clicked, when the rewrap button is clicked, pick a new random number. We're going to set the status to wrapped. Now we need to tell the other gifts to rewrap themselves. So let's use another broadcast message. So let's go to control events. And we're going to broadcast a new message, and let's just call it rewrap. All right, so when the rewrap button is clicked, pick a new random number between 1 and 3 and put that into the variable myRandom. Set the status to wrapped and tell all the GIFs to wrap themselves. Let's go into a gift and now figure out how to get that GIF to listen for that rewrap signal and then rewrap itself, okay? So we'll do that with just the first gift for now, and we'll see if we can get it to work, okay? So when I receive it's listening for something. When I receive rewrap, then what we want to do is we take this one bit here. I'm going to just do that. Sorry, let me just duplicate that. Okay. Yep, like that. Okay, and we don't need this block here because we do that on the other one. Okay, so when I receive rewrap, switch costume back to gift B. Okay, so let's see if it just works. We've only implemented this on the first gift, so it's only going to work on the first gift. But we want to check that first before we go into all the other gifts and change the code. Let's choose the middle one. Got the duck. The cake was over there. Now if I hit rewrap, perfect, right? Okay. I'm seeing a couple things we need to do. First of all, that seems to work, so we'll need to go implement that. I'm also noticing that we need to go get the other gifts to wrap and become wrapped, change costumes to the gift, and then we need to hide the rewrap button, and then we need to set the state to wrapped. Okay. All right. We'll do it one thing at a time. There's a few different little bits of logic that we need to kind of work through here. Okay. So the easiest way to do this is just to take this code here. This will work on the other gift. So drag it right into the other gift, and it's just going to drop it right in there and drop a copy of it too, and do it there too. Okay, good. All right, so there it is. We're going to just move it into the same spot so that we can find it. There it is. Okay. Now I want to go back into that rewrap button. And after that clip, oh yeah, we did set the status to wrapped. What we want to do also is after the sprite is clicked, we want to hide, all right? Because the game's starting over. We don't need the button. I forgot that bit right there. Let's see how this implementation works. Let's see if we've gotten this right. So hit the go button, hit the green flag, shakes the gift, got a duck, cake was over there, rewrap button appears. Okay, let's rewrap. Good. There we go. I think that works pretty well. Now, one thing I'm checking here is that, one thing that we had implemented was essentially a game status to see if, what state was the game in? Were the GIFs wrapped or unwrapped? Because if the GIFs are wrapped, when you click on a sprite, you want the GIF to shake and then reveal. If they're not wrapped, you don't want it to shake because that doesn't make sense. And also you don't want to get a score. So that's why there's this sort of status equals wrapped, status equals unwrapped, okay? That's why when you click here, you're not getting additional bits of score. Unless you rewrap, now you are. Okay, cool. Great. So what I think we ought to do also is that when the green flag is clicked, I think the score should reset then, and then I can get rid of this reset score button, which I think makes more sense. The green flag just starts you off fresh with a new game, and then we can get rid of some clutter here by getting rid of that. And now that we have the rewrap button, we don't need the green flag button, right? So I'm going to go to the code for the backdrop. And the backdrop is just a great place to put just some general things to, that they're not associated with a particular sprite or particular graphic or object you have on stage. And I'm going to set the variables for ducks and cakes to 0. That resets the score. I'm going to take 2 copies, check 1 to cakes, 1 to ducks. That's the score that's visible right here. So that's going to count how many ducks and cakes there are. Okay. So now when you hit green flag, it goes 0, 0. And then actually let's, we won't delete the reset score button yet because we just want to make sure this implementation works. Yep. Rewrap. Got 1 cake. 1 cake, 1 duck. Rewrap. 2 cakes, 1 duck. Okay. All right, you get it. Seems to work. Seems to work fine. Yeah. Okay. So reset. That's what we can get rid of that, I think, because now, oh, you know what? Let me just rewrap, check one more time. I want to check one more thing, make sure. The cake, green flag, resets everything. Okay. So let's get rid of the reset score thing. Essentially, you can see right here, it was the same code, set cakes and ducks to 0. So we can just drop that. Now that we have that, I think that's a lot better. So something I've been thinking about was that, you know, if you open up 3 cakes in a row, I don't know what the statistical chances of you being able to do that, but getting 3 cakes in a row, I think would be pretty cool. And I think something special should happen when you open 3 cakes in a row. That's a streak, right? You know, if you get 3 cakes in a row, that's a streak. I think what we can do here is implement something so that if you do get 3 cakes in a row, you see some extra special achievement. Okay, so what I'd like to do is, you know, have a character say something when, you know, like, hey, you're on a roll, just as a neat surprise when you open up 3 cakes in a row. And so, you know, if you look around the room here, you see there's a stage up here on the shelf in the corner. Why don't we put a character on that stage? And you're not going to think that character does anything until you get 3 cakes in a row, and then the character will say something. So if you go to choose sprite, what you'll notice in the sprites is that there are all kinds of sprites that you can use, and there's also some cool characters. If I scroll down, I can't remember what the character's name is. It's in the middle here somewhere. Oh yeah, there's Giga or Gobo. Okay, let's take Gobo. So now when we picked Gobo, they put Gobo full size right in the middle of our stage. What I'm going to do is just click on him and drag, or her, I don't know if it's him or her, right there, kind of up in the shelf there. Set the size to 25% of its current size. All right. That's going to look great. So now Gobo is just sitting on the shelf there. Okay. And you wouldn't notice Gobo. You wouldn't notice that at all if you were just playing, right? It blends in quite nicely. All right. Now I'll show you what you can do with a character here. So I'll just, for purposes of just sharing what, you know, one way to make the character talk is by saying when, actually, no, when sprite is clicked, get rid of that. When the sprite is clicked, go to looks and then say hello for 2 seconds, right? So now watch. See, it says hello. So that's the thing we want to say, you're on a roll, okay? We need to track how many cakes we've gotten in a row, though, and we're going to use a variable to do that. Again, a variable is just a spot in memory where you can store data. So we're going to store a particular count of how many cakes in a row. And the logic is this. Open a cake, take that number, and add 1 to it, right? That's all. If you don't open a cake, reset the number to 0, right? You start from the beginning. You broke your streak, okay? So if you open a cake, add, and it's 0, the streak is at 1. Open another present. If it's a cake again, go to 2. If it's another one, go to 3. And 3 is the time in which we think we want to do something special. So let's set up a new variable. Make a variable. Click this button here. Again, a variable is just a spot in memory. You call it whatever you want. So I'm going to call this streak. Good to be descriptive so you know what the heck you're talking about, right? And for all sprites. Okay, streak. When you create a variable, it creates a little indicator here in the upper left part of your stage to show what, you know, to show like what the value is. If you uncheck this box, it goes away. We're going to have that checked for now and show it on stage for now, just while we're developing the game so that we can make sure that it works fine, okay? Now what we need to do is implement some code so that when a gift is opened, if it's a cake, add 1 to it. If it's a duck, make it 0, change it to 0. So let's jump into our first gift here. Oh, we're playing, sorry. Let's click there, down here on the bottom, then we can actually go into the code. Let's scroll down. Here's the code where it changes into either a duck or a cake, okay? So what we wanna do is, if it's a cake, so in this case where it switches to costume 1, when it numbers 1, it switches to the cake costume, we're going to set streak, we're gonna change streak by 1, right? So let's just change streak by 1. So if it's 0, make it 1. If it's 1, make it 2. If it's 2, make it 3. That's what change by 1 is. And then you can change that, of course. However, if it's a duck, we want to set it to 0. No matter what number it is, make it 0. You broke your streak, you're done. So back to 0. Set streak to 0. Okay, does that make sense? So if we got it right, if the random value was 1 and it's the first gift that is the cake, then we change streak. We take streak and add 1 to it. Otherwise, we set streak to 0 if it's the duck. Let's implement that in our other gifts as well. Okay, I'm going to go down here. And we are going to change streaks. Change streak by 1. Right? And then set streak to 0. Again, when it's a duck, your streak goes to 0. It's over. Otherwise, you're going to add 1 if it's the cake. Now, let's see here. We are going to change streak by 1. We're just implementing the same thing in all 3 gifts. And then set streak to 0. Okay, let's double check. We'll go through each of them and double check that we got all of those right. Okay, so in the first gift, we're in gift 1. If it's a cake, change streak by 1, add 1 to streak. Otherwise, set streak to 0. Perfect. Gift 2, change streak by 1 if it's the cake. Otherwise, set streak to 0. Right. Got that right. Again, we'll just double check number 3. Change streak by 1. Otherwise, set streak to 0. Perfect. Okay. Let's play the game. Let's watch that streak number and see if we can get it up to go maybe to like 2. 3 is going to be tough. I'm not going to waste all your time seeing to get it to 3. It might take some time. All right. Got a duck. Rewrap. Let's get a cake. Come on, cake, cake, cake. Ah, we got a cake. Streak was set to 1. You can see it right there. Streak got set to 1. Now the condition we're in is we want to get, if we can get a cake again, let's see. Nope. Streak goes to 0, and the cake was in the middle. Let's try again. Oh, all right. We're back to a streak of 1. Rewrap the gifts. Come on, cake in the middle. No, streak goes to 0. I at least want to get 2 cakes in a row so that I can prove to you this works, or prove to myself that this works. Let's see. And all right. And if it doesn't, if we can't get a cake again, what I'll do is I'll show you. No. Okay. Not going to spend the rest of our time here trying to get a 2-cake streak or even a 3-cake streak. What I'm going to do is put a little bit of code in there to cheat for now, just so we can double check it works. And then we'll take the cheat out. Okay. So if we go to the button, the button is where the random number is really being picked most of the time. It also gets picked when you hit the green flag. But what we can do is actually just always set the random number to 2. Then we always know that the cake is going to be in gift 2. So why don't we do that just temporarily? So we set my random to 2. And we don't have to do anything else, but just put that after that random number picking, right? Instead of you said, okay, you picked a number between 1 and 3. Now just forget about that number, throw it away, and put the number 2 in instead, because we always want it to be the middle gift so that we can at least try it out. So total cheat, but we're going to make sure that the streak works, okay? So this should be the cake if we got that right. Oh yeah, we only implemented it on the rewrap button, okay? So that was the green flag is clicked. Now let's now that the rewrap button is pushed, I surprised myself there for a second, but there we go. Okay. There we go. Cake in the middle. Rewrap. Cake in the middle. Rewrap. And then one more time. You can see the streak. That was 3 cakes in a row. Of course, we got 3 cakes in a row because we weren't randomizing anything. But you can see the streak there is now at 3. Okay. So streak works. I'm going to I'll leave that out. I'll leave this sort of on so that we can still see the number of streaks. Let's go back to the character on the stage because we need to implement the message that comes up when 3 cakes are chosen, right? So we'll go over to our little buddy over here on stage. Now we're not going to use this because yeah, we don't need it. It's just, that was just to show you what it looked like when it said something. What we're going to do is we're going to, what we want essentially is something just to happen forever. So I would just take this when green flag is clicked, that was when things get started, and let's pull in a forever loop. So this is a block where we can put stuff in and it'll keep doing something over and over and over and over again, okay? So now what we want to do is have a condition. The condition is if the number streak, if the value in the streak variable is 3 or greater, we want something to happen. So I'm going to take this if block, and you'll notice that it has a little cutout in it, not only the sort of cutout where we can put blocks in, but it has this like spot where I can drag other blocks in. Those blocks have to kind of look like diamonds. If I go down to operators, you'll see that there are a bunch of blocks that have like this same shape to them. And what we want to do is put in an operator, essentially like a math function, to check one thing versus another, right? And what we want to check is whether this value streak is greater than or equal to 3. Okay, so I'm going to drag this one. It says blank is greater than 50, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this 2, and then I'm going to take my variable here, streak, drag that in there. So if the streak number is greater than 2, then do something, right? In this case, we want to say something. So let's go to looks, say this for 2 seconds, say, you're on a roll. Whoop, you're on a roll. Okay. Oh, I have a little typo there. Hold on. You're on a roll. Okay. Let me reset everything. Oh, you know what? The green flag isn't going to reset the streaks. So let's reset that. The code is in the background. When green flag is clicked, set streaks to 0. Let's just change that to streak. Set streak to 0. Okay. Now when green flag is clicked, okay, everything's back at 0. That should go away. Okay, again, we have that cheat code enabled so that it's always going to be gift number 2. Let's click on it. It's always going to be gift number 2 after you click the rewrap button. All right. Now it's always going to be gift number 2. 2 cakes. 3rd cake. There we go. Now the character said you're on a roll, which is a nice little surprise to see. Let's rewrap. Let's see what happens when we now choose, like, let's say we got it wrong. Make sure it goes away. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Cool. So there might be a little, I think that implementation is going to work fairly well. This 2 seconds thing, I'm just going to shift that to 1 second because this is going to just do that over and over and over again as long as the streak is, 3 cakes in a row or greater. Before we wrap up, we cannot forget that we've got to take the cheat code out, of course. So that's this block here. I'm just going to drag this like that and then take these away and put them back, and then just drag that over there to get rid of it. Okay. So what we've got now is implementation. I think it's working. I'm going to hide the streak variable so that it's not seen, so that what I think would be great is that if it's a surprise when someone's playing and they see that. So let's hit go. Resets everything. I'm not going to try it, but I can't help myself. Ducks 1. Okay. Rewrap. Cake. We got 1 cake. Why don't we try for the streak here? Oh, 2 cakes in a row. Now, I've never on the live stream actually gotten 3 cakes in a row. Let's see what it's going to be. Oh man, the pressure is on. So, I was just talking to a colleague of mine about this situation where, you have particularly low chances of getting 3 cakes in a row. But at this moment, I actually have a 1 in 3 chance of getting the cake. It's a paradox that, like, you know, it's an interesting one. If someone knows out there what that paradox is called, I always think about that. So right now, I have a 1 in 3 chance of getting that 3 cake streak. Let's go with the cake on the right. Ah, first time ever on the stream, I've got a legit streak. The thing worked. That's great. So I think that's a good note to land on for the stream today. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you had fun. If you want to play around with Scratch, just go to scratch.mit.edu. And this game in particular, if you want to remix it, it's all saved. In fact, I'm going to hit save now on it so that it's all uploaded. If you go to bit.ly/duckscakes, like down here on the bottom of the screen, you can remix this game. You can look inside, or you can just play it if you want. So thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And if you have ideas for where we can, what we can do with this game, let me know. Send me a message, add a comment or something. And yeah, maybe I'll stream a little bit more this weekend and we can keep working on this game. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. I'm going to wrap up the stream now. Have a great Friday and have a wonderful weekend. And I hope everyone